And then whilst that was going on, a third nation was coming into the fray, and that was Sirius. And the energies of Sirius are balanced energies. Isis and the energies of Sirius is pretty much the Christ centre of, it's got a lot of the energy of the Christ in there, but it also holds the energy of the Mother Goddess. So the two main colours of Sirius, as far as spiritual energy go, is gold and silver. Silver is the light of the Mother, and the Christ is the balanced energy, but has a more masculine flavour to it. But they all serve different purposes. So God had now achieved a certain level of existence. I've created now on one hand the embodiment which best held the charge of the white light of knowledge, and on the other side of the ledger the embodiment which best held the charge of the white light of conditional love. Now it's time to unite these two together, and with the unification of that, bringing these two parties together, because they are two embodiments that were at the opposite ends of the spectrum. Total other ends, opposite ends of the polarity, extreme ends. So by bringing those two together, it began with a war, which was known as the Orion Wars, and they raged for over 1 million years. It was really horrible, painful time, but it was a process we were required to go through. And Sirius was, because it had such a high energy of balance and the mother energy, it started attracting to it as a star nation highly evolved spiritual beings. Doesn't matter what race they came from, just they were attracted to that place. The energies felt really comfortable for them to be there. A lot of lion beings live in Sirius. There is lion beings out there, yes. What was going on was the two tribes came together and they had the wars, and then the energy of Sirius started attracting these highly spiritually evolved beings. And a lot of birds went there too that were highly evolved, and some serpents too that were evolving spiritually, and weren't into that energy of war so much. They understood that it was no good. And what happened was Sirius then started favouring the birds, the conditional love side of life, for a very short time. And Orion went to war, the three serpent queens, under the guidance of the three serpent queens of Orion, went to war against the two bird tribes of Sirius and Pleiades. And it was a very difficult time. You see, the serpents mastered physicality. They knew technology, and they had all the hardware. They were the masters of physicality, and you've got to give them respect where it's due. And so they said to us, it got to the point in the war, they said, you either, to us as Sirius, either surrender or we'll annihilate you. That's where it got to. And the king of Sirius, King An, who was a very spiritual being and always working with in line with the spiritual hierarchy, was told by the beings in the higher plane that if you surrender, and it will serve the right purpose down the track. And so he did. He had faith in that. He did. He surrendered. And Sirius now serves in a sort of way under the guidance of Orion in the Federation in a kind of a way, certain areas of life. And the wars then subsided, because what happened is by doing that they were able to inject into the serpent races, and we're talking about the cream of the crop of the serpent races, the ones that's sort of the top, the pinnacle, okay? Into that was an injection of Christ energy by doing that. It was a very, sometimes folks, in order to win a war, the whole war, the ultimate war, you've got to lose a battle. That's the idea. Okay? You've got to let go of the ego, and sometimes you've just got to lose a battle in the long run to win the main war. Okay? And that's what An did, and injected that energy, and a lot of the lion beings started hanging out because they're very wise beings, and that's why I have a lot of that energy around, and that's why the Sphinx is where it is. That's why there's a lot of establishments here on the planet that use the lion as their emblem. Because the people at the top, right at the very top, they know exactly what I'm saying. There's no mystery. There's no secret. It's just the masses are kept in ignorance, that's all. And so the lion beings are very important beings. They travel throughout our universe and teach great wisdom to a lot of races. They have the ability to know how to harness power. Power comes in many forms, in ego and greed and all those sort of things, and control, and it's important to learn how to harness that power and redirect it and reuse it in the right manner, in an effective manner. There was a particular being known as the Winged Dragon of Ra. This guy was the leader of the armed forces of Orion, and still is. He's the son of one of the queens of Orion and was appointed that job and was really good at it, boy. He then started hanging out, after Sirius surrendered, started hanging out with line beings from Sirius because he was a power man and they were power beings, and they kind of started hanging out together. And then through a period of time, his relationship with these beings, they taught him great wisdom and said, hey, you know, what do you think it's like to be on the receiving end of your policies, of your decision making? You know, what you term as peace is really control, like I read to you that philosophy before. And it's the same mindset, it's no different, right? And they taught him that you're out there imposing your grand force. We're talking about huge armadas of planetary-sized ships and everything, which just overwhelmed everybody, and saying that they must live under your rules and your regulations, and that's what you deem as peace. You might have peace for a little while, but eventually those people are going to rebel because they can only put up with that suppression for so long. Okay, it's not freedom, it's just control. And he learned that through them, and he started turning back towards the Creator, and he was, I must say now, he is one of the most important beings in all of creation, and soon on this planet he will be honoured for the being that he is. So will this guy, Lucifer, okay? We've got to get out of this one-eyed perspective that there's only one good side, alright? You've got to understand that these beings will be honoured for the roles that they've played soon on this planet. Now, he turned around and said to the queens one day when they went up and wanted him to attack a star nation, he said, no, I'm not going to do it. And they just went crazy, you know? How dare you? Because, you know, they're used to, you know, you do what we'll say. And their philosophies are, their cultural philosophies were, we were here first, we will step on the bird tribes and all these humans, on these beings of light. We were here first, we own this place, we have the right to do whatever we want with them. We will step on them and do whatever we want with them, that is our God-given right. Okay? Or their term of God. Okay? And that's their philosophies that they operate under. And we have a leader here on this planet that calls himself Son of Star Wars. Okay? Now you've got to understand that that mindset and that statement was made because you still have a draconian being inside a human embodiment that still lives under that glory days of we have the right to step on anyone that gets in the way of our agendas. And that being has to change his attitude. Okay, it's important that that gets done. That being needs to grow within itself and say, okay, the use of my force is no longer applicable. It's just creating misery. And I've got to stop playing my games of power. It's important that this is understood. Okay, go back to Raphael, and so he started turning back towards God because he started saying to the Serpent Queen, so I'm not going to do it. And they went crazy, and then they turned around to their lineage back to Alpha Draconis, which was the headquarters at the time, running the Serpent Queens of Orion, like their big daddy, so to speak. And he said, no, I'm not going to do it, even to those guys. And they said, well, what's going on here? And he started changing, and he started reconnecting with God and turning towards the light. And that's why they call him the Winged Dragon of Ra, because Ra is the sun disk, is the Christ consciousness, and he is a dragon who is of the Christ. That's what that name refers to, the Winged Dragon of the Christ, of Ra. Ra is just another name for Christ. Okay? Another name for that ball, the golden light. he then began coming here and changing the way things were done here on the planet. And once that started occurring, the energy shifted in Orion and Pleiades and Sirius. It shifted dramatically. And what happened was then we were given the go-ahead by the spiritual hierarchy to create a third physical embodiment for this grand plan of creation. And that was the one that was going to combine the energies of the serpent tribes and the bird tribes to bring it together into a universal embodiment. And we did that and created what's called the feathered serpents. And there was a few of them that were created, and the expression of the beings pleased the spiritual hierarchy. The way they went about expressing themselves was far more balanced. Not too much greed, not too much power. Not perfect, right?